What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Data with Peachey, episode number 1. I've been teasing this podcast video thing for a while on LinkedIn, and I'll probably populate this on YouTube and YouTube Shorts and things like that. But I finally sat down and recorded episode number 1. Now, I'd like to tell you that I'm going to do this every single week. I don't know. I don't know what the response is going to be. Don't even really know how far this thing's going to go. What I'm going to try to do is bring a lighthearted view into the world of data. Sometimes people can get so caught up into like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do with all this data stuff. I don't know where to start. I have no idea where to begin. Well, I'm here to tell you. When I first started, I didn't know it either. So this podcast, this video thing that I'm putting out, hopefully will get you started on your journey or your company's journey as it relates to getting data governance, data management, data related things going in your particular spaces. The whole point of this podcast video thing is for you to just listen to it on the go. I don't want it to be long drawn out. I don't want it to be hours and hours of podcasts that you see. I don't want that. I want it to be a quick hitter, something that you can listen to either on your way into the office or in the office or at lunch or wherever it to be. So if you find it interesting, leave a comment below. If you find it interesting and you happen to find this on YouTube, subscribe. That would be really, really nice. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things. That would really help me out. And it would let me know that if I should continue to go on with something like this. But in episode 1, I want to talk about really what's something that's near and dear to my heart, which is data governance and the whole concept of data governance, because it's very, very popular now with all of the different laws and regulations that are coming out. Everybody's talking about this concept of data governance. Now, I think it's important to talk about it in 2 different ways. There is data governance, big G, that talks about the department of data governance. And then there's data governance, little g, which is more of the action of governing your data. Sometimes I think people and different companies conflate the 2 together to say, well, data governance is going to do it all. Well, data governance, the action, or data governance, the department who's going to do the action, because we really need to start drawing the line between who's doing the certain types of actions, and more on that in a little bit. But let's talk about data governance, the big G, the department. Where on earth should you start when you're trying to set up data governance in your respective departments? You've read all these blog posts, you've attended conferences, you've listened to big loudmouths like me go, data governance is important. Now, what do I do with it? Let's kind of backtrack just a little bit. Let's talk about what data governance, like way back in the Wayback Machine, what it was properly supposed to do. It was supposed to be a group of individuals at a company, at a place that's providing you basically the guardrails to play with data, the guardrails to play and measure and access and entitle and do all the things related to your particular data at your firm. That being said, it has morphed into a billion different things in the industry right now, but let's talk about at its core where data governance should start. So let's talk about, I happen to look at it, and there's 1,000 different ways that you can look at it. The North Star for me is a data governance policy. Some people put it as a charter. Some people put it as a whole bunch of other things. I look at it as one single policy. There is one policy to rule them all, much like the Lord of the Rings type situation. But that policy is the North Star by which we always measure against. And then we write subsequent standards against that policy. Okay? So again, North Star policy. We write standards that support that policy, and then we write procedures that support the standard that supports the policy. So again, you can kind of think about it, North Star policy, not 30,000 feet, but definitely sets the guardrail direction, the standards by which they say, hey, okay, now this is what you're going to do to make sure that you stay in line with that policy. And then the procedural documents. Now, these should be really, really robust. These are the types of things that can change quite frequently. We want less changes at the policy level and more frequent changes at the procedural level, because that's really where you get into the nitty-gritty of telling people, this is how you are going to govern, little g, your data. This is how you're going to do X, Y, Z for data quality, lineage, metadata, entitlements, whatever that thing might be. That's where you're going to really start to sink your teeth into. I have seen some procedural documents be 25, 26 pages. Totally fine. It's very, very robust if you do that. But again, from a data governance perspective, if we talk about it, I look at it from policy, standards, procedures. One policy, standards that support the policy, and then procedural documents and how-tos and Excels and Word documents, procedures that support those standards that support that policy. Now, one thing that I see constantly all the time is people want to try to boil the ocean and say, all right, I got to govern all my data right now. This is what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm going to govern all of my data. Therefore, I've got to have every single policy written, every single standard written. It's got to have a governance charter with every single this, and it got to have a committee that does it. Stop. Slow down. Let's define the goal and start simple. When it comes to data governance, one of the biggest points of failure that I have seen some companies do is they attempt to go 400 miles an hour with a data governance program, and they have these business executives looking around at each other going, I have no idea what this person is talking about, but I don't want to do it. So let's just not do it. And a lot of times they are the ones that you need to influence the most. So recommendation, this is what I'm going to do. If you're starting out with a data governance program, let's define your goals that line up specifically to business executives' goals, metrics to support them. Most of the time, you're going to start to see some things bubble up to the top that are constant things that all business executives deal with. I have bad data quality. I don't know where to find my data. Who has access to my data? Traditional data governance related things, data governance big G related things that we can influence on. Therefore, rather than try to do everything all at once, let's just start there. Let's govern that particular piece. Let's govern that particular area of reports or data for that business executive and show them the power of good, sound governance practices and principles, and then build the next capability. Start with something that's right there. You have a data quality problem? Start with data quality. Don't start with metadata management. You have a data quality problem? Don't start with something else. Start with just that. Oh, you have a data lineage problem. You don't know where your data is? Start with that. That's where you start to get those quick wins with individuals, and it really starts to showcase the power of having a good, sound governance program. And then you can start to build those subsequent capabilities as you see fit. You know, when you get those quick wins from a data quality, really bake that into the people, process, and technology part of it. And then you can start to automate some of those different things. Again, starting small, acting fast. Now, I just talked about in this particular episode, I just talked about the policy, standards, procedures, and I talked about starting small and defining your goals. That is literally just scratching the surface. I've only talked about those two very small things. We still got roles and responsibilities. What is a data steward? Who are the people that I should be targeting? But again, in this particular episode, I wanted to throw this out there, see what people thought. Again, start small, act fast. If you really like what you're seeing here and you really want more content like this, again, leave I guess on LinkedIn, a thumbs up, a heart, an insightful light bulb thing. If you're on YouTube and you're checking this out, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of the things that you see below. I'm probably going to try to put something out like this. I'd like to tell you that it's going to be every week. Probably won't be. Probably going to be every other week or so. And talking about, again, short snippets. In the beginning, I'm going to talk about building a data governance program. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate everything that you do. Hopefully, I'll see you for another episode of Data with Peachey.